What is a fire sky? A fire sky is quite literally what it says on the tin. It's when the sun catches the cloud at sunrise or sunset and lights it up orange as though it's on fire. In this section, I'm going to explain a little bit more about the science behind the phenomena and how you can interpret information to see if you can witness one. I should note that parts of this can get a little bit complicated, but are not always necessary, as there are apps such as the Skyfire plugin for the TPE app. We've already talked about this in previous sections, and this plugin calculates the likelihoods of these occurring and represents them graphically on a map. However, I do find there is merit in understanding the phenomena and being able to spot the telltale signs, as the software does interpret over a much larger area and it can be quite unreliable. In order to understand what causes a sky fire or a fire sky, there are three things to consider: the orange glow of the sun at sunset or sunrise, the cloud base levels, and also how clear the sky is on the horizon, allowing that sun to shine through and underlight the clouds. Now, visible light is made up of quite literally all the colours of the rainbow. At sunrise and sunset, the sun is so low on the horizon that the light has more atmosphere to travel through, causing the shorter wavelengths of light, such as blue being the shortest, to scatter, leaving only the orange and reds making its way to our eyes as the observer. Provided the cloud base is at the right level and the horizon is clear of obstructing cloud, this orange glow can cast to the underside of the clouds, illuminating the sky for miles. It does get a little bit more complicated if you really want to increase your likelihood of seeing one. We have already discussed the three levels of cloud we can interpret from the weather apps. There's high, medium and low cloud bases. Low cloud is anything up to 6,500 feet, which in the most instances is not suited for fire skies, as the distance between the ground and the cloud is too shallow, allowing the sun to only project on a very small portion of cloud and preventing a full fire sky from forming. Often, if there is low cloud, it is generally associated with rain. However, on occasion I've managed to get a short burst of light at sunrise or sunset if the horizon is clear, which can look fantastic in contrast to the otherwise dark and moody sky. Here's an example of a photo I took in the Peak District at a place called Peterstone, where this is exactly what happened. Medium cloud is between 6,500 feet and 20,000 feet, and in my opinion is best for fire skies. We've already discussed about the altocumulus, altostratus clouds in this layer. Alto meaning medium, stratus meaning flat and smooth, and cumulus meaning heaped and puffy. These tend to give you the most impressive fire skies, stretching as far as the eye can see, as they are sufficiently far off the ground to allow underlighting, and generally not high enough to be thin and wispy. Once you familiarise yourself with these types of clouds, you'll soon be able to spot these in the sky, and visually have an indication that a fire sky could happen, basically at sunrise or sunset, without the use of any apps at all. Although that is only going to limit you to the hours before sunrise or sunset, so you do have to look at the apps to get a more of an advanced warning. Above 20,000 feet you get high cloud. These form at the top of the troposphere where it is the coldest. We all already know that this results in clouds forming of supercooled water droplets and ice crystals, which makes them appear quite wispy. These are known as the cirrus clouds. High clouds can be very desirable for fire skies. A common phenomenon known as the cirrocumulus or mackerel sky is perfect for catching orange glow. However, due to the wispy nature of these high clouds, they can be quite hit and miss and give you a sparser fire sky than a thick blanket, so to speak. Now, going back to our apps, Ventasky or Clear Outside, you can clearly see the forecasted percentage of each of these levels of cloud represented, and it gives you a great indication if you're in for a chance. Now, the remaining piece of the puzzle is whether or not you're going to have a clear horizon. As we've already discussed, you can use photopills or TPE to determine the direction of sunset and sunrise, and then you can use Ventasky to determine whether or not there is a gap on the horizon. The question here is, how far is the horizon from you? Unfortunately, this does change with elevation, so it can get quite complicated. If you are stood at sea level and are 1.7 metres tall, then the horizon is about 4.7 kilometres away from you. If you are stood on top of Scafell Pike here in the UK at an elevation of 978 metres, then the horizon is about 110 kilometres away. Now, if you're into this as much as I am, this is where it gets a little bit more geeky, so grab your calculator. An easy method to calculate the distance is to check the elevation of your intended position on an Ordnance Survey map, which you can do online, and then multiply the elevation by 13 and take the square root of it. Or alternatively, there are horizon calculators online available that can do the hard work for you. You can then look at the cloud base approximately at that distance away and check if it's clear. Sometimes it actually detects where I'm going to photograph, so I can line up my composition with the sun and then also this gap. In my experience, this has led to a lot of successful sunrises and sunsets, although be prepared for an odd rogue or two ruining the view in the last minute. So that concludes this section on Fireskies. Whatever the forecast, you can't beat just getting out there and witnessing a sunrise or sunset regardless. And at the end of the day, you can't control or predict all the elements to 100% certainty. But nonetheless, a little bit of the weather forecast watching and awareness of what's happening in the sky outside, and you will drastically increase the amount of Fireskies you witness.